Yes, hello everyone and welcome to all our West Australian football fans to another edition of Around the WAFL, hot off the heels of a wet and wild round 13. Thanks for joining us live from the BackChat studios, wherever you may be across the state, the nation or anywhere in the football world. And today on this show we're going to review all the 5 games of round 13 and also cast the votes for the Around the WAFL Player of the Year, and joined by Stan Wright of East Perth. Paul Persic with you in the BackChat studios, and I'm joined today by a man who's embodied the Christmas in July spirit with a big sweater of his, Mark Foreman. Mark, how are you, mate?
Well, thanks, Paul. Yeah, no, it's good to be here, and it keeps me warm at best. I'm not sure it's easy to look at, but
it's very effective.
Yeah, we make do.
Fantastic stuff. And what a round of WAFL football it was. And would it be fair to say after round 13, Mark, is the top 5 all but set?
I'd say so. I mean, it sort of felt like from the start of the year we did have 5 teams and then the rest, and it's panned out that way. And as you alluded to, sort of West Perth, sitting in 6th, and they're now 3 games and percentage out. So I dare say, yeah, it probably is set. Just depends on the order now.
Yeah, that'll all be determined in the next 7 rounds of football. Who does finish on top?
Look, obviously Claremont there at the moment, but I really like what East Perth are doing, and with the return of the big ruckman who used to play for Fremantle, of course.
Yeah, Mitch Crowden's one of those big returns as well, and Angus Scott as well.
Yeah. So it's East Perth look really strong, and I think his name's escaping me. Big ruckman, Zach Clark.
Zach Clark,
of course. For Subi he's playing for, but East Perth have been strong. East Perth or Claremont? Toss the coin. I think East Perth, like what they did against Swan Districts on the weekend was pretty clinical. I got to see a little bit of that match, and Hamish Brayshaw running around for the Royals as well has just been so strong. I'm going to go with East Perth, but Claremont, sitting on top pretty strong too.
Real toss of the coin as well come the second
yours?
half of the season. I'm going to say Claremont as well, because their depth everywhere around the ground has just been excellent, and the fact that they've been able to get the close ones on the board, especially last Saturday against South Fremantle, is a real testament. Speaking of East Perth, in just a moment we're going to have Stan Wright joining us, and just want to remind you all that round 14, every game, live, free and in full, is on the AFL app and on afl.com.au. It's going to be a big 14th round of the WAFL season. This is Around the WAFL, the official podcast of the West Australian Football League. And like Mark said, East Perth, they were clinical against Swan Districts on Saturday at Steel Blue Oval, making it 6 wins in a row and keeping in touch with Claremont at the top end of the ladder. Stan Wright, he's one of those players that holds the key for the Royals' fortunes, and he's good enough to join us on today's show. Stan, a warm welcome to you, mate.
Thanks for having me, boys.
Great to have you here on the show, Stan. It was a great performance by your boys over the Swans, especially at often what is a hard ground to play and win against Swan Districts at Steel Blue Oval in what was slippery conditions.
Yeah, it was. We always knew it was going to be a challenge heading to Steel Blue. It's such a great atmosphere for the Swan District Footy Club. Quite a interesting crowd they've got there, but it's great atmosphere, and it's a very challenging place to play and win. Played there, a number of times over my personal journey, and it's we haven't had too many wins there, but it was great to get the result. And as well, I didn't think we played our best footy. I didn't think we were nowhere near playing our best footy either. And it was good to get such a strong result at a tough place to play. And slightly slippery conditions. So and coming off a bye, we were a little bit rusty early, but our pressure was high. We really wrapped to get the 4 points and move on to Claremont this week.
Hey, Stan, tell us about the influence of Hamish Brayshaw. We know he's a class player. He's been, hanging around the AFL system as well, but having a huge season. What's he like around the club, and how have you seen his impact on the Royals?
Yeah, Hamish is he's one of our co-captains, so he brings a lot of leadership, being at that AFL level. And in years gone by, he's definitely brought a lot of that through to our younger guys. So not only with the senior group, also with the reserves, he helps out a lot of the upcoming midfielders. He's, as you boys probably know, he's got quite a lot of energy. Doesn't take things super seriously, but when it's game time, he leads from the front and had another great performance on Saturday, following his awesome performance the before the bye against Perth. So it's great to see him hitting some really strong form along with all our other midfielders. So we've got quite a damaging group in there, and they're all hitting the scoreboard as well, which is great.
It's not just your experienced players, Stan, that are really firing. A lot of the young kids out there that are really showing their potential at the top level. Talking about the likes of Sam Van Diemen, he had 11 disposals, but when he's at his best, he could really hit the scoreboard. He didn't do so on Saturday, but just the way he was able to influence the game up forward is very important.
Yeah, I think Sam, he's certainly found his role playing that small forward. A lot of pressure. I think he's leading our tackle count or pretty close to. And he's probably kicked 2 goals a year this year. So he's stepped up along with Mitchy Schofield up forward. So it's really great to see those guys come along. I think that they wouldn't have played, I think 30 or 40 games between them. So they're still very young guys in terms of league football. So we're really impressed with how they're coming along, and it's setting up our forward line. We don't have as such a key forward at this point in time. We've had a few guys try and play that role, but I think our balance at the moment has been really good. All of our forwards are really hard to play on, and Sam's leading the charge.
Now, Stan, I've got to stitch you up a little bit here for our WAFL listeners out there. Can you please tell us what your nickname is?
Well, I've got a few.
Can you tell me? I've heard about Westy. Can you tell me why you're called Westy?
Yeah, great question. So Westy come along as we've got this was a few years ago, this is probably 2019, we had a Eastie, or an East and a North, Taylor North, and we've also got Tom North who's come along this year. But back a couple of years ago, I was having a joke around as I do. I normally one giving out the nicknames to the boys. So I thought, well, look, every footy club I've been at, there's been a Westie. When I was down in Margaret playing back home in Dunsborough, there was a Westie. When I played up in Margaret River, there was a Westie. So I thought, you know what, there's no Westie here. I'll be the Westie, and I'll be a part of the Compass Brothers.
Yeah,
so,
very good.
So that's how that came about, and it sort of grew some legs. It went down like a lead balloon back in 2019, but when I come back from playing at Wembley in 2020 and 2021 back at East Perth, for some reason the Westie just took off, and it's stuck. And there's a few other nicknames in there which I won't reveal to everyone else, but Westie's quite a good one.
Yeah, we'll keep it G-rated.
So basically, you've summed that up as you gave yourself that nickname.
I did give myself a nickname, but because of if people who know me well, I give out a lot of nicknames. So I thought, you know what, who else to give myself the nickname than the best nickname giver I know. So that's how that came about.
Can I jump in there then and ask, is there a nickname that stands out that you've given to a teammate?
I'd probably have to say we've got Sam Van Diemen, who I call Robin, because of course, any soccer lovers out there, yeah. Robin Van Persie.
Okay.
So there's Robin. You put me on the spot here.
Yeah, I know. I've stitched out a bit.
We've got a few others. We've got, I'm not too sure why, but me and myself and Angus Shoemaker call each other Dana. After Conor McGregor, we just yell at each other, "Hey, Dana, 60 G's, baby." So we just, I don't know why that's one that comes about, but
I feel like
I'll have to think about it. Yeah, I'll have to think about it.
I feel like we've got a potential full podcast of the nicknames that Stan Wright has come up with.
It looks pretty good, I reckon.
Myself and one of my best mates from down south when we were growing up at high school, we just give everyone nicknames, all in a lot of fun. So it's just something that you like doing, and of course. A bit more on a serious note, obviously, training every 3 times a week can get a bit stale, and just things like that to freshen it up. And footy club's a great place to have a nickname and that sort of fun. So it's a bit of fun.
We second that, Stan. Fantastic stuff. Great job by you and the boys on Saturday against Swan Districts at Steel Blue Oval. All the best for this coming Sunday at the top of the table clash against Claremont. That's going to be an absolute ripper. Thanks for your time here on Around the Waffle.
Thanks, boys. Appreciate your time.
Stan Wright, or Westy, as he's affectionately known at the club, joining us here on Around the Waffle. Imagine that. The best nicknames that stand it. So we've got Forey. We've got Donkey. We've got Skeet for Mark Reddings. We've got Scoey for Will Schofield. We've got maybe DC or just Dan for Dan, who's working the buttons here. So some other funky footy nicknames that we could discuss.
Well, some of those you just mentioned are straightforward, but it sounds like Stan really put some thought into them.
He did.
Working his way around the compass is not bad, I reckon.
Absolutely. Maybe there's one for Northie, there's one for Eastie, maybe one for Southie or something. That was the one that he left out.
Yeah, I'm sure it won't be long before he finds a teammate he can label Southie. Someone out of form, perhaps.
Maybe. Thanks to Stan, and all the best to East Perth for their game on Sunday against Claremont. Just a reminder, all games in round 14 are live, free and in full on the AFL app. It's going to be a big weekend of footy. We'll have a preview of that with Rod Spin Willett on Thursday. This is Around the Waffle, the official podcast of the West Australian Football League. All right, let's get into the action for it. First up in round 13 on Saturday at Leederville Oval, Subiaco and Peel Thunder. They started slow, the Thunder, but they are showing why that they are a double chance threat. Winners by 14 points over the Lions.
Yeah, they were. Now, I've got a couple of close connections to the Lions, and this is where I was alluding to, Zach Clark coming back, and he's provided a real presence for them. And speaking with a triple premiership player, I think he was Dan Leishman, who used to play with Subi. He was telling me how they've almost probably exceeded their expectations this year. They did obviously fall short against Peel, but I feel like Subi are not without a chance as well. Because as we said, looking at the ladder, there's only 8 points that separates fifth and first. So Subi certainly not out a shot, but Peel, obviously with those AFL listed players as well, are always going to be a pretty big threat, and they were too strong on the weekend.
It's not just a mix of the Dockers players as well, but a lot of the locals that have had their opportunity to shine at Peel Thunder, and they're making the most of it. When you look at the likes of Ben Hancock, the captain, he played a ripper game, 27 touches. Also, Blair Bell, another 20 touches for him, and also Liam Reedy, 22 hitouts against Zach Clark. I think he won the battle against the Big Lion because of the support he got around the midfield, and that was always going to be a key. Despite Peel having 10 less inside 50s, they were still able to be effective in front of goal. 18 scoring shots to 14, and that was what really made the difference for Peel Thunder at the end of the day.
Yeah, and look, that sort of efficiency and to have those opportunities on goal is been impressive. And I think, in a way, it's actually probably a good thing what's happening here, because it shows that the alignment method can work and can work quite well. And of course, West Coast are in that phase at the moment where they're sort of saying, well, maybe we should go back to the alignment. But Peel Thunder's showing us that it can work, and sitting third on the ladder and sitting pretty. It's no easy feat to go to Leederville Oval to beat Subiaco at any time. So they've done well.
And in slippery conditions as well. And the fact that the Peel backline did so well in holding down Subiaco's key forwards. Ben Sokol only held to just one goal. So the Thunder backline, they are a real force heading into the next few weeks of the season. Now, the next game at Steel Blue Oval, we spoke with Stan Wright about this one. East Perth, absolutely clinical. Too strong for Swan Districts. Their 6th win in a row. This is a team that is saying to Claremont, watch out, we're coming.
You're not wrong. And like I said, I think they're a real chance this year, East Perth. And Hamish Brayshaw, he's been enormous. You can't underestimate what he's done for that club this year. Shows he's as Stan said, he's doesn't take himself too seriously, but the way he still moves around the field, it's really noticeable that he is a class above. That they'll be a force this year. And, I've got a close family member who is a massive Swan Districts fan. Was out there at Steel Blue on the weekend watching. And at one point, and whilst he did tell me, look, this isn't the reason we lost. But at one point, the free kick count was 16-4 by way of East Perth. So it was slightly one-sided, but you could also argue that they were first to the ball and those sort of things. But
they just showed more desperation and discipline, East Perth.
Yeah, they did. And again, watching some of the highlights, the way that they cut through the centre of the ground was really exciting, I think. Fastest avenue to goal. And Hamish Brayshaw is one of those that just really does slice through the centre of the ground. But as you've alluded to, that they've got real depth as well, East Perth, and from the bottom up, they were far too good for Swans.
Everywhere. They just got depth everywhere. They look a complete side, and especially with the fact that Ross McQueen's there as a coach, and he's got so much more out of his players. no disrespect to Jeremy Barnard, what Barnard got out of them over the last 2 years that he had been as coach. So I think Ross McQueen's entry to the East Perth scene as a lead coach has really galvanised the team into a winning combination. It is great to see East Perth competitive once again.
Yep.
Swan District's Jesse Turner, he played a lone hand, 44 disposals, but they were just exposed. They let in so many gaps in the midfield, and their forward line just didn't really function. I mean, when you look at Jesse Palmer, only held to a goal. Jackson McLaughlin, he was serviceable, 27 disposals, but they just didn't really click. Only 4 goals, 8 for the day.
Yeah, I know. And yeah, I mean, there's not much more I can add to that, to be honest. But how is 44 disposals in a losing team is incredible.
Solid effort.
From Jesse Turner. Look, there's still some names in that team. It's probably, I think with Swans, it's probably your bottom 6 that are, almost not as strong as they need to be. And I think that's where games can almost be won, not from your best 6 players, but from your bottom 6 being really serviceable. So, yeah, look, they're a work in progress, Swans.
Yeah.
So they won't be down for too long.
No, they certainly won't. They're only in 7th place, and they're only just behind West Perth, who we're going to go to next. Pentanet Stadium in Joondalup, West Perth, beaten by East Fremantle to the tune of 41 points. The Sharks, brilliant in the second half. They kicked 6 goals to just 2, and that all but ends the Falcons' premiership defence, I'd say. They're too far back.
Yeah, and this is where what we were looking at the start. So 4 games out, as well as percentage, with only 7 games left. So, mathematically still possible, but it does look like it's done for West Perth. That was very much a non-negotiable win, and they weren't able to do it. And look, some of their senior players were a little bit down. Aaron Black only, I think I saw it, 15 disposals.
Well, a lot of them were down. Aaron Black wasn't the only one.
No, of course not. And, they've still got some... you've still got some guys there who, have been around the footy a long time, and I suppose you'd call them veterans, who perhaps didn't get their hands on it as much as they'd like. Tyler Keitel was pretty well held, who we know is a real danger and has been for years. So,
and Keegan Knott.
Yeah, I saw that he was right down the bottom, so only had it 5 times. Kicked a goal, but he was pretty quiet as well. So. Again, another team that they've got the quality there. It just hasn't really clicked as they'd hoped.
Yeah, they're still basking in the content, I would say, from the premiership last year, which is common amongst a lot of clubs in the football world. You can call it the premiership hangover, you can call it anything you want, but it just hasn't been the same form that saw West Perth lift up the flag at Leederville last year. But East Fremantle, don't take anything away from them. They were fantastic, especially Cam Erdley. He usually plays down back, but what he was able to do is increase his game, increase his work rate. 32 touches, 4 marks, 2 tackles, and kicked a goal to boot. Outstanding performance from him. Milan Murdoch saw the ball 30 times. He was effective in midfield. And down back as well, the likes of Thomas Bennett and even Ruben Maguire, who shifted down back. But also up forward, it's good to see this man back in form. Big John O'Marsh, 3 goals from 25 touches.
Yeah. Oh, look, those you can't understate the influence that the Marsh boys have had on East Fremantle, I think. With some AFL experience, those two as well. They've been really brilliant. And look, just on West Perth, before we move on, we can't understate how difficult it is to win a premiership. So to go back to back was always going to be a challenge, but they haven't been up to it. And East Fremantle, were just super strong. And those sort of guys, the ones you alluded to, and the Marsh boys particular, kicking 3, big John O'Marsh, that's put East Fremantle in with a real hunt. They had lost a couple in a row, I think, a few weeks ago, but they're back on track and certainly solidified in the top 5. And who knows, they're probably ones that could push for a top 2 finish as well.
Possibly, only time will tell. Now we go to the 4th game at Mineral Resources Park, and oh, what a finish this one was. Perth, they looked home and hosed at half-time, but this was West Coast's best effort. It was their best effort. They got to within a couple of points. They hit the lead with seconds to go, and then that rushed behind, saw the scores tied, and the Eagles, with their first points of the season, chaotic finish at Lathlane.
Oh, they're back, West Coast. They're absolutely back. So, watch out. They mathematically, well, let's see, 7-2. Yeah, look, mathematically, technically out of it. So, no, it was.
You are crazy.
It was great. I mean, it has been a season of pain.
Yes.
For some of those players, and I'm trying to think back. I remember in junior footy, I was in a a team that got belted most week. It's no fun. And
No.
so to taste the first points of the year is like honestly, it's pretty important for some of those players. Like you want something, you want to know that you're actually a chance to win a game. And well done. It's fantastic that they were able to get some points. It probably should have been 4.
Yeah, considering they had the lead with 2 minutes to go, it was about a 6-7 point lead, and they had every chance that they could to snap up the game.
Yeah, and I think it probably comes a time where you actually have to learn how to win too, which is not something that these guys have been able to do. We know why. We know why this is happening, and hopefully it fixes itself when injured players come back to the AFL side, and it allows a few guys to come down. But shout out to some of my North Beach boys. I noticed Darby McCarthy got his hands on the footy a fair bit. And I think Shannon Lucasen played in that game too. Yes, he did, but he was a little more quiet. But the injuries not only to the AFL side, but also to the WAFL side have affected it. I know that Joey Deegan is out as well at the moment for West Coast. So there's hope. They've got players to come back, but it's fantastic they could get 2 points. I think, unfortunately, this probably says more about Perth than it does about West Coast.
It does, because they led by some 5 goals at the start of the second half, and many were thinking, okay, given West Coast fortunes this season, Perth would kick away. But they didn't, even with the likes of Charlie Thompson, Corey Byrne, Sam Stubbs seeing plenty of the football, including Jack Avery and also Cooley. They just couldn't string it together, and I reckon Peter German, the Perth coach, will put the boys through a hard week, because that was a game they should have won, and they were certainties to win.
I wouldn't want to be in that Perth squad this week. I can't imagine Peter would be all that pleased. Look, this isn't... I didn't get to see as much of this game, so can't pinpoint where it went wrong, but I think you can just take the result at face value, and I can't imagine they'd be overly thrilled.
No doubt about it. Now, let's go to the final game, Fremantle Oval. This one was a ripper. South Fremantle led for about 85% of the game, and then Claremont, they just keep finding those ways to win the close ones. It's about their 4th or 5th close win this season. They're on top of the ladder for a reason.
They are, and good teams find a way to win. And
in adverse conditions as well.
Yeah, and that's what Claremont keep doing, which is, it's intimidating for other players. For other teams. I think the best example of this sort of thing we saw at a high level was Collingwood last year, winning close games, and you alluded to it there. Claremont just keep finding a way, and good teams find a way, and they've done it again, and it also seemed to be a case of making the most of their opportunities too. They kick pretty straight and they use the ball pretty well.
Especially with Bailey Rogers and Ben Edwards, who was back in the side. He had 29, Bailey Rogers 24, and kicked the game winner as well. Jack Lucy further up back was very good. But South Fremantle, even though they blew that chance to win the game, they've got a lot of positives. Jake Florenka, he was fantastic. Brock Higgins, the rumbling Rambo and the ruck, he was back to his best form, 27. But Jimmy Miller, up forward, since he's been a primary forward for South Fremantle, he's been regularly that key avenue to goal. 4 goals from him, outstanding.
Yeah, a real presence, and making the most of his opportunities too. To kick 4 goals in a team that only kicked 8 is, pretty darn impressive. So he obviously kicked half their score. So an important avenue to goal for the Dogs.
Now, like West Perth, South Fremantle have had nightmares at home this season. It was their 4th loss at home in a ground where they usually do well at. They've lost games to Swan Districts, Perth of all teams, East Perth as well, and now Claremont. Has that intimidation factor started to wane as far as South Fremantle is concerned? Has teams have been able to work out how to beat South Fremantle at Fremantle Oval, like how they to beat West Perth at Pentanet Stadium?
Probably. To an extent. I think it's obviously being in Metro Perth, the travel isn't that much of a factor. And it's probably just a case of, I think it's more reflective of where Souths are at rather than, trying to build a fortress. But, to start with, you want to be winning at home and to be intimidating. You want to be an intimidating side to host when other teams come to play. But it's probably more so just reflective of where the squad's at and the way that they've performed this year. And not surprisingly, they're second last.
It was a big win for Claremont. Congratulations to them. And where does that leave the ladder after round 13? Claremont on top, a game clear of East Perth and Peel Thunder. The Royals holding down second, Thunder in third, and then East Fremantle and Subiaco rounding out the top 5. In the bottom half, West Perth a little too far behind. Then comes Swan Districts, Perth, South Fremantle and West Coast getting their first points of the season. Just a reminder, round 14, every game is live, free and in full on the AFL app. This is Around the WAFL, the official podcast of the West Australian Football League. All right, Mark, let's get to the votes. The Around the WAFL Player of the Year, of course, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for those watching for the first time. One vote goes to Cameron Erdley of East Fremantle, ventured to the midfield and played an outstanding game. Benjamin Hancock of Peel Thunder, he gets 2 votes. Captain's game, great performance from him. He was sensational. And I never thought I'd be giving an Eagles player any votes, but Jed Kemp from the West Coast Eagles, he gets 3 votes for his performance in that draw against Perth. He was very effective. He ventured up forward, kicked 2 goals, and his service around the ground was absolutely brilliant. 4 votes goes to Hamish Brayshaw of East Perth. Yeah, but I think he'll still be content with the 4 votes. He was absolutely sensational. All-round game. Wherever he plays around the ground, he is effective. And the 3 goals and also the 24 disposals as well was just brilliant.
Was it 24? 24 and 3. Rough not to get the 5 votes. So who's that gone to?
Well, I must apologise. 34 touches, I should say.
Yeah, that's
12
right. Yeah.
marks. 12 marks. Now,
34 and 3. He's stiff not to get it, but you do have a man who played a darn good game.
Certainly did. This may come as a shock since it's coming from a player in a losing team. The Around the WAFL top gun of round 13 goes to Jimmy Miller of South Fremantle.
Yeah, and we touched on it just before. So, look, pretty well deserved. I mean, both were stiff. Brayshaw stiff not to get 5, but Miller would have been stiff not to get it as well. So, hard to split them.
Yeah, well, 4 goals in adverse conditions against what is usually a good Claremont backline was a solid effort for Jimmy Miller. So he gets the top gun for round 13. Congratulations to him. And where does that leave the leaderboard? After 13 rounds of the 20-round season, Jai Bolton's still in the lead on 11. Zach Clark and Jarvis Payne are tied on 2nd with 10. Milan Murdoch with 9. And Tom North on 8. Jimmy Miller goes into the top 10. He is on 7 votes. And then Hamish Brayshaw, Angus Schumacher, Mitchell Crowden and Corey Watts, all from East Perth, rounding out the top 10. What a season it is going to be. Second half of the season well and truly in full swing, and the top 5 pretty much all set. Now, just before we go, Forey, I just want to send a congratulations to Jamie Harkin of the Claremont Football Club, who last night picked up the Dara Kerr medal for the WAFL W Best and Fairest. You've called a bit of WAFL W this season, Forey. Claremont have had a great season. They're heading into their second straight grand final. And Jamie Harkin, she's really holding the key.
Yeah, and I remember actually calling one of Claremont's games, and she was prolific. Won a lot of the footy, and that it doesn't surprise me that she was the winner of that medal, and will be really important as they mount their assault to try and take this premiership.
It'll be back-to-back for Claremont against East Fremantle in the grand final rematch. We will have a preview of that on Thursday on their edition of Around the WAFL. It's going to be a big day on Saturday. Forey, thanks so much for helping out today. Really appreciate it.
Oh, pleasure. Good to be involved, Paul.
And we thank you, our viewers and our listeners, for tuning in to today's show. Just a reminder, we have socials in operation, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Give us a big thumbs up. We really do appreciate it. And you can also watch us on our YouTube channel, the BackChat YouTube channel, and also listen wherever you get your podcast. Rod Spin Willett will join us on Thursday to preview round 14 and the WAFLW Grand Final between Claremont and East Fremantle. Thanks for your time. We look forward to your company then.